Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out here for you. So, just yesterday or the day before, we were talking about Hamas, and I brought some information out to you guys that there was a possibility of some unconfirmed reports stating that supposedly majority, if not all, the hostages that are remaining with Hamas in the Gaza Strip could potentially be dead. Okay, I was literally just talking about that. I don't know if you remember, if you saw that video. It was just yesterday or the day before. I can't remember which one, but I was just talking about this. Now we've got some information coming out that Hamas has told negotiators they don't have 40 hostages available to trade for a hostage ceasefire deal. Okay, so this is really, really big news because if they don't have 40 available, that means that majority of them are either missing or dead, and that this number that we're being told, I believe, don't hold this against me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's somewhere around 150 hostages remaining with Hamas in southern Gaza. And if this is true, then majority of them are probably dead if they cannot locate just 40 hostages. Okay, and supposedly part of this deal is that Hamas would release 40 hostages, including women as well as sick and elderly men. And in exchange, Israel would release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and they'd be released from the Israeli jails. Okay, so this is very, very big news. And I want to bring this out to you because this probably shows why the Rafah invasion is going to continue. It's going to commence. And I think this is going to make Israel even more angry here because many of these hostages are already dead, most likely, if they cannot locate them. So Hamas has said that they're not they're unable, to identify or track down where these individuals are at, where these hostages are, which is very interesting. I mean, why? How are they not able to track them where they're at? The only thing that I'm thinking here is maybe they had them located in different areas, and maybe some of these areas have already been invaded by the IDF. And who knows? Maybe some of the hostages were taken already, or maybe some of them are still stuck in jail cells under a tunnel or something like that, or inside of a tunnel. And maybe the Hamas guards that were there are gone or already dead, and maybe these people got locked or trapped in their rooms that they were locked in. Who knows where they're at? But this is a bad sign because if Hamas doesn't have any hostages to negotiate with, then they're going to have some big problems here moving forward trying to get a ceasefire deal. So I have an article here on CNN World we're going to get into. Hamas tells negotiators it doesn't have 40 Israeli hostages needed for first round of ceasefire. So it says, Hamas has indicated it is currently unable to identify and track down 40 Israeli hostages needed for the first phase of a ceasefire deal. According to an Israeli official and a source familiar with the discussions, raising fears that more hostages may be dead than are publicly known. The framework that has been laid out by negotiators says that during a first 6-week pause in the fighting, Hamas should release 40 of the remaining hostages, including all the women as well as sick and elderly men. In exchange, hundreds of Palestinian prisoners would be released from Israeli prisons. Hamas has told international mediators, which include Qatar and Egypt, it does not have 40 living hostages who match those criteria for release, both sources said. CNN's record of the conditions of the hostages also suggests that there are fewer than 40 living hostages who meet the proposed criteria. The inability or unwillingness of Hamas to tell Israel which hostages would be released alive is a major obstacle, the second source added. With Hamas appearing to be unable to reach 40 in the proposed categories, Israel has pushed for Hamas to fill out the initial release with younger male hostages, including soldiers, the Israeli official said. Throughout the months of negotiations since the last ceasefire, Israel has repeatedly asked for a list of hostages and their conditions. Hamas has argued that it needs a break in the fighting to be able to track and gather down the hostages. The same argument it made in November before a week-long pause that broke down after Hamas failed to deliver more hostages. The majority of almost 100 hostages who remain alive are believed to be male IDF soldiers or men of military reserve age. Hamas is expected to try to use them in later phases to try to negotiate more significant concessions, including more high-level prisoners and permanent end to the war. Okay, so almost 100. So I believe I was thinking 150 before, so it looks like around 100 hostages are left. There are more than or the more than 250 hostages captured or killed on October 7th are believed to have been spread out among different members and factions of Hamas, as well as other militant groups, gangs, and even held by families. So there's some information there as well that they're spread out. And that's probably why maybe they can't locate them, because maybe some of these Hamas guards or members that were holding some of these people hostage have maybe been killed or already captured. And maybe some of the hostages are still locked in cells or somewhere in a room, and people weren't able to find them or locate them. The Israeli Prime Minister's office said Wednesday that of the 129 hostages from the October 7th attack currently held, 33 are dead. All right, so it goes on to say here, among those believed to be still held in Gaza are the Bibas family, who were snatched from their homes in kibbutz near Oz. Yarden Bibas was separated from his wife Shiri and their children Kafir and Ariel, who were just 9 months and 4 years old respectively on October 7th. The two boys and their mother were not released from Gaza during the temporary truce in late November, despite the fact that the deal agreed between Israel and Hamas required all women and children to be set free. Hamas claimed in November that Shiri, Kafir, and Ariel had been killed in an Israeli airstrike but did not provide evidence. Hamas has claimed repeatedly that Israeli bombing has killed a number of hostages held in Gaza, and that its continuing campaign is threatening those still alive. Maybe Hamas was holding many of these people just inside of buildings, and we know a lot of the buildings have been destroyed in the Gaza Strip. So is it possible that a lot of the Israeli bombings have killed hostages? Yeah, definitely possible, depending on where they held the hostages at. In January, Hamas released a video showing clips of 3 hostages, Noah Argamani, Itai Sversky, and Yossi Sharabi, speaking to the camera, ending with a caption saying, "Tomorrow we will inform you of their fate." The next day, another video appeared to show the bodies of Sversky and Sharabi. In the video, Argami said both men had been killed by Israeli bombing. Israel said Hamas was carrying out psychological torment on the hostage families, and IDF chief spokesperson Daniel Hagari said the 2 men had not been hit. "We do not strike in places where we know there may be hostages," he said. The hostage families have become a political force in Israel, staging mass protests to demand more to be done to free their relatives. 2 relatives of Israeli hostages were arrested last month during a protest outside the Defense Ministry headquarters in Tel Aviv, staged after the Israeli delegation holding indirect hostage negotiations with Hamas left talks in Qatar without a deal. Excuse me. So, wow, this is crazy news because, like I said, there was some unconfirmed reports coming out just a few days ago that many of these hostages could be dead, and that Hamas was not going to be able to negotiate and provide these hostages that they wanted to. So what's going to happen here if majority of these hostages are dead? How is Hamas going to get a ceasefire deal here? They most likely won't be able to. And we know that these ceasefire talks have not been going well at all throughout this majority of this war. Hamas obviously wants the IDF to fully withdraw from the Gaza Strip and end the bloodshed. And then Israel wants to do the opposite. They don't want to leave the Gaza Strip until Hamas is eliminated. So this is obviously going to be a lot of pressure on Hamas here. And will they be able to provide these hostages here or not? Or are they already dead? I guess we'll find out here pretty soon. And as soon as we get more information, I will notify all of you on this. But if you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. We'll see you in the next one.